This is the most tactical video you will find on YouTube about real estate lead conversion. Everybody talks about generating leads, but I haven't found one video that breaks down how to convert leads consistently into closed deals as clearly explained as this. So today I bring on lead conversion expert Jeremy Van Colart, who runs a team, and he breaks down three critical things. Number one, how to identify exactly which leads immediately are going to lead to the fastest closed deals. The second thing is the exact framework he uses in order to contact those leads to get them to a booked appointment fast. And thirdly, which is one of the most important things, the magic is in the follow-up, and he reveals for the first time ever his complete follow-up strategy that continues to print closed deals with very little effort. Now, two quick things before we're getting started. Number one, I will link Jeremy's content below so that you can check him out. He's a wealth of knowledge. And number two, if you would like his help for free to start to implement his system that we're going to walk through and be able to go directly to a scalable, predictable business, click that link in the description or the pinned comment, book a private Zoom call with him, and he'll be able to help you get right to the fast track to success. So without further ado, let's bring on Jeremy and talk all things real estate lead conversion. All right, Jeremy, we're really excited to have you on here, man, and to talk about what I genuinely think is the biggest issue in real estate right now. Most agents think that they've got a lead problem, but the reality of it is that generating leads is very easy. What the real truth is that they have a lead conversion problem. And I know that you've got very tactical, specific frameworks that are proven to work in any market that you've been able to help agents with close deals at a ridiculous rate. So really excited to dive into that. But before we get started, why don't you just give yourself a quick introduction, who you are, where you're from, and what got you to this point where you've become an absolute master at converting online leads?
Sure. My name is Jeremy Van Colart. Before real estate, I've been in real estate for 6 years now. Before real estate, I was a music producer. I owned a record label. That record label was a sub-label for Armada Music. For anybody that knows that, that's Armin van Buuren's record label. So I worked with him for a couple of years. And then I transitioned out of music into the film industry, worked on big productions like Resident Evil, Schitt's Creek, Kim's Convenience. And then I actually got into real estate because of an HGTV show. So it inspired me. I looked at what they were doing and I was like, you know what? I could do this. Went home, watched a Ryan Serhant video, and then went all in.
That's awesome, man. And quite the story. To be honest, I think your background, it goes without saying, proves that you've got some experience. But
for sure,
let's talk about lead generation, right? The majority of agents think that they need more leads. They need leads now. And they need leads all the time. But the problem is they get more leads and they never actually convert them. And so I know that you've got this really interesting perspective, perspective that I've actually never heard anybody talk about, which is the difference between what we're constantly told in real estate, which is speed to lead, but you've got a different take on it, which is speed to signal. So I'd love to hear your perspective on what speed to signal is, give a definition, and let's dive into how agents can actually apply it to exponentially increase their lead conversion.
Okay, yeah. So I have worked thousands of internet leads, so specifically Google PPC and Facebook leads. And there's this misconception, and it comes from an old Harvard Business Review study about speed to lead. That study suggests that you have to call people within 5 minutes. And while it's not entirely incorrect, what it doesn't consider is what type of inquiry it is. So is it a hand raise or is it a site registration? And real estate mixes this up, and a lot of coaches read it and go, okay, speed to lead 100%. That's what we need to do. Is within 5 minutes, everybody needs to 100% call every lead immediately and then call them 15 times in the first 7 days. And that's not how we do things, because the mix up here is that that's called an access event on an IDX website is when they register to view properties. The other type is called an intent event. So this is like requests, replies. They're sending you a DM. They're asking to go and see properties. And we have to, as real estate agents, if we want to actually convert them, we have to treat those two events differently. So this is essentially why intent matters. If you have the wrong mapping when it comes to how your lead follow-up and your sales process goes, and let's say you're reaching out to those site registrations right away, it starts to feel really spammy for the person on the other side. You get high opt-outs and you actually end up doing more damage in the beginning than you possibly like ever could imagine. If you have the right mapping, so you have the right process, it means that you have fewer touches, so you actually don't have to call everybody. You have higher quality conversations when you do, and better conversion, which is what we all want. And this is probably the only system that you can run where less is more, like less work equals better results. So what does that intent mean in real estate online leads specifically? Google, PPC, Meta, ads, right? An explicit intent is somebody booking a showing, asking for information, contacting you through a contact page or something like that, or directly booking in your Calendly or something like that, or directly replying to an email or SMS. Next is behavioural intent. So if you're running the IDX website like we do, it's what are they doing on the website that tells you that there's some intent there. So for instance, looking at the same listing 3 times in a row, it's a pretty interesting intent, behavioral intent signal. Also saving properties, favoriting properties, that's another one. Creating or tightening their own saved searches on the website. Or if they return to the website after being away for 30, 40, 50, 60 days. That's also something that you should probably pay attention to. And then last is the access only. So this is the one that agents believe they should be firing phone calls, SMS, emails, hitting them 15 times in a row right away. And that's called access only. So first time registration to viewer search. The way that the pipeline or the lead generation works is that we go out and we put ads for people that are looking to view properties, then they land on your site and they're forced to register, so they have to give their information. This doesn't mean they're interested in buying a house right now. So if you are hitting them with phone calls super fast without actually identifying if there's real intent there, you're burning a lot of leads out that are not ready for a sales conversation right now that would be ready in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months if you didn't blow it. So what types of lead generation fit into what bucket? So Google PPC, for instance, this is an IDX registration. Again, that's access seeking. So they just want to see the properties. They don't need a call. Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and to say they don't need a call, you have to measure the intent of them first. So there's some cases where they register, start favoriting properties right away. They start creating searches right away. And that means that you should probably call them. Meta, so Facebook and Instagram ads, lead ads specifically, it's the same thing. It's curiosity and it's pretty low friction, right? So you have to validate the interest or the intent with signals. You have to, instead of calling them right away, pause, see what they do with whatever it is you're giving them. And if they do something that's positive, then call them. And last is portal leads. So this is Zillow, Realtor.com. These leads are the only ones that are different because those leads have been living on Zillow or Realtor.com, which has been nurturing them over a long period of time. And then usually they reach out to book a showing, get more information, and that's an explicit inquiry. So explicit inquiries we have to treat as extremely high intent. Last, and certainly not least, is your referrals. So somebody comes in and they say, hey, I want to introduce you to Jeremy. Jeremy is a real estate agent. He can help you buy a house. You want to assume those are pretty high intent and you have to call them right away, right? So registration only, you want to not call them right away. You want to nurture them until you see the signal. Views the same property 3 times, save a search, narrow a search, return to the site. Medium intent, engage with them thoughtfully, but don't call them. It's weird if you're calling somebody that just saved a property on your website and you call them immediately. It's a bit odd. So you want to be thoughtful, strategic about it. And then last, if they book a showing, request info, reply, send you a text, anything like that, high intent, act immediately. This is where the Harvard Business Review thing comes in, and minutes and seconds matter. So if you get high intent signals, you have to immediately reach out. So again, the SLA, so this is what I call service level agreement for the timing. High intent, minutes matter. Respond right away. Medium intent, 15, 30 minutes. Don't be weird. Don't tell them that you can see what they're doing on the website. And then access only, so people that just register to view properties, leave them alone and let your automations take care of it. So in my system, I basically reviewed about 2,000 leads and all of the phone calls from my team. So I lead a team of 4 agents right now in Toronto. It's a very sales resistant city, so people can see through it and they hate it. It's very, very, very sales resistant here. So I monitored all of the leads and the phone calls. And I noticed from my system that the first 5 minutes, or sorry, when we ran the system where we were calling within the first 5 minutes of registration, I'm listening to the calls and I'm hearing over and over and over again high resistance and annoyance, to the point where they're saying, like, don't call me. Like, how come you're calling me? It's just like wild. And then higher opt-outs, lower reply rates overall. And then when I looked at our closings, so all of the Google PPC and Meta closings in the system, every single one of those closings historically has been driven by speed to signal and not speed to lead. So the CRM indicated intent. I called, opened a conversation. The conversation was warm because they had been in the system for a while, and it was never by an immediate cold call to that person. There's also one lesson I learned in this. So I got a portal lead, a Zillow lead that came in. They booked a showing. I missed the lead indicator in the system. I waited 90 minutes, and then I called them and I said, hey, I'm just calling you to get the showing all set up. And they said, well, I actually already booked with the listing agent. So when intent is high, like when they put that showing request in, minutes matter. Like, it really matters. So the speed to lead, on the other hand, why can it be harmful? And it's because it essentially treats access as intent, which is not what it is. Access is access. So it quickly burns that trust and trains leads to not answer your calls, pollutes your future engagement. It really, really screws up your pipeline. So we don't do that because it also takes our agents and it wastes their time on non-buyers. So people that are not actually like ready to get into the market, why call them? It's a lot of labor, right? And then also, because if you're just calling every single lead in the system, it tends to get really busy in the system, and then you hide the really high intent opportunities amongst all of the noise. So that's why we use speed to signal, because the timing is better. There's warmer conversations. People are more receptive to having a conversation with you. And then last, of course, it protects your brand equity. So you don't want people to think you're a spammy call center. And you just concentrate essentially on the real opportunities in the system.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I love it because nobody really talks about that, about leads actually not being all created equal. And that goes back to the 80-20 rule, where unfortunately a lot of agents are spending equal amounts of time on every single lead. And then what you realize is 80% of the leads are low quality and 20% of the leads are the highest quality, but you're spending equal amounts of time. And so it's really important to be able to identify like what actually works and being able to understand the priorities so that you can have focus and go and invest your time into what's actually going to yield tangible results, being appointments and closed deals. And so based on that, let's talk about converting, right? Because you've got a conversion framework, and I'd really like to better understand, and now that we've identified the priorities, what do we need to do in order to convert them and go from lead to appointment?
Yeah. So when you receive the signal, so when you're given the green light by the system to make the phone calls, so on the high intent activities, you want to pick the phone up. That's the first thing you want to do, and you want to do it within 5 minutes, right? So the approach on the phone call is very simple. We're going to acknowledge the signal, whatever it is, however they came in, whether it's a showing request or whatever. And then you want to run a simple, repeatable call framework, and not scripts. You want to run a framework. It's different from scripts. There's scripting in a framework, but a framework is going to help you get through any situation. And then at the very end, we want to work through the conversation in a way that's holistic and then move them to the next sensible step. Okay, so the framework that we use has a couple different parts. First, it's the opener, and then we ask questions and we qualify, and then we set a best next step, which is what we call an advance. We don't call it closing because in most times it's not closing, right? So the goal of this call is we want to earn clarity and then get some momentum, whether it's an advance or a close or a showing or whatever it is, without triggering sales resistance in the individual, in the lead. So step one, the opener. Let's say we're dealing with somebody that saved a couple properties we've gotten the signal. It's strong enough that we feel like we need to make a phone call. We want to first reference the action, so the saved properties, and then pause and let them speak. So it would sound something like this. Hi, John. This is Jeremy. I'm a broker here at getadvantage.ca. My team let me know that you registered to view some properties, and I wanted to reach out to you personally. And then you shut up. If they say thanks, you continue. If they say who, you just reiterate the company. It's getadvantage.ca, the real estate website sending you listings. Something like that. Just make them understand who you are. If the signal here, let's say in the signal is not the saved properties, but it's a booked showing, you want to always confirm the date and time first before anything else. You don't want to get into the conversation before confirming the showing, obviously. Next, they say, oh yeah, I remember that's that website that I signed up on to get some properties. I've been looking at properties there. Great. What can I get you information on? And then on a book showing, you just alter that line and say, great, what information can I get you on that property? And then you pause. You let them talk. They'll say something like, oh, I just like it because it's got a beautiful backyard, or something surface level like that. And then what you want to do is you want to get to the core question. So this is where we're going to dig deeper for their motivation. You say something like, what's got you looking at properties right now? Now, usually they're going to say, I'm just looking. Like it's almost 100% of the time. They say, I'm just looking. Not really interested, just looking. All you have to do is normalize it and re-ask. Yeah, I figured you were just looking. So what's got you looking right now though? Right? Like you just say, yes, I understand you're just looking, but why? And then you want to just drill down on the questions. So they're going to tell you some surface level stuff. Well, I just need more space, right? Well, I just need more space. And then you're going to say something like, when you say more space, what specifically isn't working about the space you're currently in? And then they're going to start giving you real answers. And then you're going to start unpacking the real reasons why. During the conversation, you want to collect all of the information that you need in order to make sure your CRM's up to date so you can nurture them correctly. And we use a framework to do that called LP Mama, but with a little bit of an adjustment. So LP Mama stands for location, price, motivation. And this is where we want to dig deep and get the real pain behind why they want to move. Agent, mortgage, appointment/advance. And it's advance for us. It's not appointment because we don't push for appointments every single phone call. So in that framework, here's an example of how mortgage and price would work. I would say, what did you hope to spend on your next home? And then they would say, $1 million. And I'd say, perfect. Is that based on comfort with monthly payments, or is that a number from your bank? And then they would say, we've been pre-approved from the bank for $1 million. And right there you have price and mortgage answered in one question. So you just work through the questions with them, ask questions, be quiet and listen and let them talk about why it is they want to move. Now, when we get to the agent step, so in the LP Mama, when we're asking, do you have an agent? What you don't want to say is, are you working with an agent? This gives them like a really, really low resistance way to get off the phone with you. Or you say, are you working with an agent? They go, yep, I'm working with an agent. Bye. Hang the phone up. Like, we don't want that. We don't want to kill the deal. We don't want to kill the progress. Instead, you want to ask intelligent questions on the call that give you the answer that aren't so direct. So, have you toured any homes yet? Have you been out to any open houses yet? Has anyone taken the time to show you what it takes to buy a home in today's market? You want to ask things like that because inevitably they're going to give you the answer. Now, the next thing is when you're on the calls, everybody, and this is pretty much on every single call, you're going to get objections. And objections are something that we need to be careful with and expect. We're just looking and we're not moving yet is by far the number one objection you get. I'm just looking. So knowing that going into a call, you have to think about how can I address that right away? And the way that we do this is by pre-framing. So we pre-frame the objection right up front. We say, hey, I know that you're probably just looking. You're not looking to move yet, but if you were, would that be in 6 months, a year, 2 years? By doing that, you take the objections that you hear over and over and over again, and you remove them from their tool belt to get off the call with you. So also a note on offering options like 6 months, 1 year, 2 year. When you say, like, would you move in 6 months, a year, 2 year? We want to only offer them options on timing-based questions specifically. You have to be cautious about using options in your objections, in the way that you handle objections, because they can take them and turn them against you. And what I mean is, don't offer them objections that can get them off the phone. So essentially, I don't say, I know you're not looking to make a move right now. Is it the market? Because you've just given them an out to get off the phone. You've just said, hey, tell me it's the market and I'll get off the call with you. So you want to be really careful about that. That's why I reserve it to only timing. The next thing about objections specifically is we don't really overcome them. Like, objections are not a fight. You want to address objections and you want to treat them as complaints. So if they say, this house is too expensive, right? You say, yeah, it is expensive, but look how beautiful the kitchen is, right? If they continue to object, then you can treat the objection as valid and say, okay, John, is the bad view from the living room enough to prevent you from actually living in the house? Yes, it is. Got it. Let's find something else then. And that's basically how we handle objections on the phone as well. So the framework for objections is very simple. Agree with them or validate how they're feeling about it. Don't disagree or try to sell them on the objection. Then move on or educate them if it's necessary. And then if the objection continues to come up, verify if it's a real objection by asking them if it would prevent them from whatever the step is, moving forward, doing whatever it is, putting an offer, going to see the property, etc. So after you've collected all of your data in the phone call, you know their motivation, you've addressed any of their objections, you can now suggest a best next step. And this is what we call an advance. Some people will call it a close. I'm going to say it's an advance. So how it works here is, because you said X, does it make sense to Y? And you're essentially using the information that you've gathered during the phone call, using their own words, and then asking them if it makes sense to go to the next step. So we use two types of advances, macro and micro. A macro advance is something like book a Zoom call, like buyer consultation, book a discovery call, or go see a property, or get a pre-approval. Like, there's all kinds of them, right? And then next is the micros. So micros are as small as adjusting the search, setting a reminder to follow up down the road 6 months or whatever, schedule even just light follow-up, send them a buyer guide or something like that. Something small that really doesn't have much resist. Like, people won't resist to it too much. So we want to propose the best next step here. So does it make sense to Y? John, because you said you're tired of working from your couch and you want to be in your new home in the next 5 months, does it make sense for us to have a quick Zoom call so we can go over the process so you know what to expect? And then John says yes or no. If John says no, then we say, what's the best next step then? If John says, I don't know, then you say, what's the best next step for me then? If John still doesn't know, then you say, okay, well, because you said you're not quite ready yet, why don't I follow up with you in 2 weeks? Why don't I give you a call in 2 weeks and check in and see if the timing's changed? So now that you've got that next step set, it's very, 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 very easy from here. You end the call and then you follow up. And we hear it. This is the easiest framework that you can possibly use to make sure that your follow-ups are simple. Because most agents get scared on the phone, they hang the phone up, they don't have a next step set, and then they have to call them back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks and try and figure it out. And they haven't set a next step, so there's no real reason for them to call back. So the way that we do it is by setting that next step, and then you can follow up by fulfilling what you've already promised to the person. So, hey, John, it's Jeremy. I'm the real estate broker here at getadvantage.ca. As promised, I'm calling you to see if you're still on track to purchase that home next year. John says, actually, Jeremy, things have changed. My wife is pregnant now, and we're looking to buy in the next 3 months. Congratulations, John. Because your time frame is a lot sooner, does it make sense to go and view some properties this weekend? Right? It's just like a framework, and you can just work this into all of the conversations, period. So essentially, we use that framework for every single call, every single conversation that we have with pretty much any lead from, any source, really, unless it's a referral, then it's just a conversation.
That framework is honestly incredible. And that's one of the commonalities that I've seen across every single person that is amazing at converting online leads, which is that they follow a framework, not a script. The majority of agents are searching for like that perfect script, exactly what to say, word by word, verbatim. But then the problem is that they get massive anxiety when it comes to the call because they just waste all of their time and their energy thinking like, did I say that in the perfect order? Did I say the right word? Did I do it in the wrong way? Or, oh my God, I missed this part of it. And that's where having a framework is what the masters of lead conversion do, even lead generation, which is knowing the outcome and knowing the steps you need to take in order to get the outcome. And as long as you follow those steps and really listen to the person, you're going to be able to achieve the outcome every single time instead of overthinking the perfect word, the perfect order, the perfect script. You just need a framework, and yours is honestly the best that I've ever heard. And so let's talk about where agents really drop the ball, which is follow-up. Right. And so not all leads are going to convert after the first touch point. And the name of the game is follow-up, right? We often say the magic is in the FU or the follow-up. And so I'd love to get your take and perspective on how to effectively nurture leads and eventually be able to get that booked appointment.
Yeah. So nurturing is where the vast majority of real estate agents fail and lose tons and tons and tons of money. If you think about the sales cycle for real estate, like the sales cycle in real estate is at least 18 months, sometimes longer. And if you're not nurturing the leads that you're paying a lot of money for, you are leaving tons of opportunity on the table. So first of all, what is nurturing? Nurturing is really simple. It's staying useful over the full buying time period. Like it's staying useful for 18 plus months, even longer. It's staying in touch with that lead. So following up with that lead, either through automations or direct one-to-one conversations until the timing is right for the lead, not the timing is right for you, because the timing's right every day to get a paycheck. Like I want commissions every day, but it's not right for me. Like if they're not ready to buy, you can't force them to buy. So you have to go on their time frame and stay useful until they're ready to convert. So most agents fail because yes, they stop touching the leads after week 2. Like they send them a couple messages, nobody responds, and then they go into some pipeline stage somewhere and you forget about them. The other way that agents fail is by sending a lot of fluffy stuff to them, which is like, hey, I'm going to send you my recipes. I'm going to send you marketing that says I sold 15 homes this year. I'm going to send you all of these things that buyers don't really care about. It's all me, and it's not them. So it's like if you're going to nurture leads, you have to think about them first and foremost. And what do they care about? You have to treat pretty much every touch is like every touch has to be packed with value. And if you are not packing every touch with value and instead you're going on the inverse and you're trying to close, you're trying to get them to appointments every single time you follow up, they're not going to trust you. And then they're going to stop talking to you and then you will have lost them. So what buyers actually want, and I kind of want to be clear about one thing in this because we're talking about buyers, but I want to be clear that sellers start as buyers in most cases. The first tangible action that the majority of human beings take when they're thinking about making a move is looking at properties online. So if you get good at capturing the lead when they're first looking at properties online, right, you're catching them early enough that if you're helpful enough for the entire length of time, then you will have a buy and a sell. And this happens very, very frequently in our system. Like I'd say 75% of the time. So what do they want? They want, number one, properties. It sounds so basic, but it's like, the majority of agents are sending everything but properties. And it's like the one thing that people want is properties. They're looking to make a move. So it makes sense to like set them up on an automated property drip that sends them properties that match exactly what it is that they're looking for, that they came in off of whatever advertising they came in off of. And then the second thing that buyers want is information. They want information on their buying power. So how are the rates doing? How's the market moving? Are there any policy changes that I need to be aware of as a first-time home buyer, for instance? Any of that. And then third, they're looking for clarity on a very complicated process. It's easy to us as realtors. We understand it because we work with it every day. But as just a regular person that's a lead in the system, it's incredibly, incredibly complex, right? So they want to know, how do I buy? What's the timing? What are the different types of mortgages? What costs are associated? What are closing costs? What trade-offs do I have to make here? Like what information do I need to know? So on our team, our stance, and these are non-negotiables, every single person gets property alerts on indefinitely. Like, these do not shut off. They will go forever. And then number 2, drips. Any drips that we have are not me, look at me, I'm the best real estate agent. All the drips are information based, and they're meant to educate the person reading them. They're not the look at me drips. They never will be. And next is our drips go for 5 years. We have a 5-year runway with leads. And then after that, they get rolled into the normal monthly market updates and rate announcements and stuff, just the basic stuff in special news as it pops up and things like that. And then we deliver all of this content essentially through property alerts, which is email, property alerts, email, and SMS, and pretty much nothing else. And those alerts need to be specific to their search. And it's a huge bonus if you're using a system that adjusts that search based on their actions and activities on the website. So, and some do's and don'ts of the system is stay super hyper relevant. You don't want to be sending any information that doesn't make sense. So it needs to be either evergreen information or it needs to be highly, highly up to date and relevant. And you do want to acknowledge their timeline. So you don't want to try to adjust their timeline for them. You want to offer micro advances when required. So tighten their search parameters up, check financing and like how their financing would work today. And then also be a resource for any questions and answers they might have. And that last one is weird because I offer it to a lot of leads, and a lot of leads actually take me up on it, which at first I was like, why would I ever tell them to just reach out and if they have a question, reach out and it's cool and I'll answer them. I was like, nobody's ever going to do that. But I get it so often. People are reaching out and asking simple questions. And I'm like, yeah, here you go. And then the last rule is do not send fluffy stuff. Don't create generic newsletters and don't try to hard close all of your cold leads. Like, just don't do it. So I guess my final word on the nurturing process is most of your quote unquote dead or bad leads are not dead or bad. They're just not ready yet. So you want to keep showing them properties, keep informing them over a long period of time. This is a marathon game. Online leads is not a sprint. People think that it's a magic, you're going to get rich in 3 nights or something like that. It's a marathon. It's like your time horizon should be 24 months. And then when their timing flips, so when they're ready, you're going to already be the obvious choice because you've been the one that's been keeping in touch with them.
I love that. And I love that you said 18 months in the beginning, because the reality is so many agents are just looking for immediate gratification. They're always searching for those leads that are ready to convert right now, which is like 1% of them. And then they alienate the 99% that eventually will. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when they will convert. And those clients are just going to go work with the agent that either A, actually does keep in touch with them, or B, the one that's in touch with them when the time comes closest to that time. And so the majority of agents just following up 1.7 times on average when the average lead converts after the 8th touch point. The magic is in the numbers, right? And your process for following up says it all. And so on that note, you've got systems, you've got frameworks, you've got processes, you've got everything built out, the entire toolkit where agents are able to just plug in immediately today and get started on the right path to start not just generating, but converting consistent leads. And there's a lot of agents struggling right now. A lot of people didn't have the year that they were expecting. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And they don't really have a strategy or a plan going into this next year in order to make sure that they actually hit their goals and build a thriving, scalable business. And so I'd love for you to just talk about the fact that, you've come back here to EXP and our group specifically and why that happens to be the case. And what can people expect when partnering with you and be able to get your direct support, mentorship, and coaching entirely for free?
Yeah, so I have been at EXP 3 times now. And I will never, ever, ever change again. I've been with Wolfpack twice, and I've been with someone else once, and I will never, ever, ever flip again. And I guess it's like the grass is greener on the other side kind of thing where you have to, I have to learn the hard way. It's been like an ongoing thing. So I tested all of the different brokerage models out. I went to different cloud-based brokerages. I went to the brick and mortars, and like just EXP just offers so much that the other guys just don't. And it's just like, okay, I'm done, because very painful moving back and forth. And as you know, if you have stock vesting, that disappears if you leave, and that's painful. So Wolfpack also offers obviously like massive value, like the groups that are available in Wolfpack. And I say groups because we have Wolfpack, the main group, and then we also have Wolfpack Toronto, and then we also have my crew. And it's just like layers of value. Whenever you need information, you can find anything you need in the group. And so yeah, essentially that's why I came back, and I will literally never leave again. I've just resolved that this is it. And yeah, so the call framework and all this stuff, and like I created this because I studied it. So I needed to study it because I was really screwing up leads. Like I had all these leads and none of them were popping, and I was like, what's happening? Like I need to figure this out. And it was, you don't have a sales process and you don't know how to nurture. So I learned. I partnered with a lot of different sales training coaches, and I learned. And then I took bits from all of them and created my own system that works really well for us. So when people partner with us at EXP, we give them that entire framework. So the whole framework, how it works in the CRM, how to set their CRM up for success. So if they're using Follow Up Boss, if they're using Lofty, we don't really do anything with KV Core, but like it's the same thing. Like you can essentially do the same thing in any CRM that you want. And then we have all the drip campaigns in there. Everything's in there. And then we essentially coach you how to run the system correctly so you can up your conversion rate specifically on online leads. But to be clear, this is not just an online leads thing. Like you can use these call frameworks with anybody. You can use the call frameworks with inbound open house leads. You can use the call frameworks with inbound sign calls. Like whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's the same framework. You just adjust it for the scenario. And then we also do train people on social media prospecting, social media. Obviously, you've got tons of social media training at Wolfpack. And we also do a ton of prospecting and stuff together. So we, as a group in Toronto specifically, we operate together pretty closely. But anybody that partners with us outside of Toronto has access to all that same stuff. And then also the group itself, where we're pretty much communicating on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's huge. And again, the quickest way to get shortcuts to success is just condensing time by following proven frameworks that have been proven to work for other agents just like you, and not trying to like figure it out yourself and go through years of trial and error, tons of time and money wasted, and just say, hey, for free, I can go straight to it today, have confidence, have clarity, and know that my business is going to scale if I just follow what's proven to work. And so success leaves clues. And you've obviously become successful, and not just yourself, but you've helped a ton of other agents become successful with these exact strategies. And so if you're listening to this and your business isn't where you want it to be, this is your opportunity to make a change, right? As we talked about, if nothing changes, nothing changes. The most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. And so I encourage you to click those links in the description, book your private conversation with Jeremy, and have that discussion about how we, both him and I, can take your business to radically new heights entirely for free by just plugging into what is proven to work and what will help you get to the next level. And so again, dude, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge. This truly is a complete masterclass of lead conversion, and I can't wait to do it again.
No problem, man. Appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on the channel.
Yeah, of course. And so guys, all the links are in the description. Book your call, have that conversation, and hopefully we get to welcome you into our record-breaking group. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe so you don't miss another one.